Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. I loved watching that video. It had a beautiful sentiment about the diversity of ideas here. And before we begin, I did just want to reflect for a moment on the situation that's going on in the world and right here in Texas. And at Accenture, we have an unwavering commitment to inclusion and diversity. And the laws that are being put into effect do put LGBTQ youth at risk, a group who already faces challenges every single day. And I wanted to take a moment to say that limited access to basic human rights like access to medical care is not what we stand for. It's not my values. It's not our values. So we will now get to the amazing women who we are here to talk to today. And first up is Dara Tracita. I'm so excited. I've already got to spend some time with her, and I love her already. And she leads marketing, communications, and membership at Peloton. Dara, come on out. All right. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Can we take a moment on the outfit? I said I'm so jealous.
Gotta rep the brand, right?
Right.
By the way, we have apparel in case you didn't know.
I do know, and my credit card reflects my knowledge. All right. So you and I were talking last week. You have a brand that it sets the standard for experience, and you were saying that you have to market something and communicate about something that's all based on experience, but you don't know it until you know it. That's a challenge. How do you approach it?
So I think we think about it in three ways, right? First of all, there's what is experiential, what you actually feel. And one of the things that's amazing that we have is we have these showrooms all around the country where you can go and you can try the class. And because sometimes it's hard to understand and it's hard to comprehend. I'm gonna have a great workout from the comfort of my home that is just as good, perhaps even better than a workout that I have somewhere else. And many times being able to kind of try that for yourself is really powerful. But the other thing that we know is really powerful is hearing the stories of others, right? Hearing about other people's experiences. And I think one of the things that we have at Peloton that's so exciting is our incredible member community. Do I have any Peloton members in the house? We got some members in the house. All right, I see you. Thank you for being here. And our members are powerful because they share their experience. Right? And so people can see, oh, someone like me is able to lead a healthier, happier life. Someone like me is able to, be committed to fitness and actually stick with it. Someone like me is able to find joy in working out. And so I think being able to hear those stories is really powerful. And by the way, the one thing I'll say is not everybody's Peloton journey starts out with being a fan, right? Some people start out being skeptical and then convert. And so one of the things that we also do is make sure we shine a light on that as well.
Yeah, I told Dara I was a skeptic, but this isn't about my journey, although I could do one of your acts. All right, so what about what that matters to your members? You are in charge of membership, so you have to nurture and really stay close to what your members want and what they're feeling at the moment. How do you do that?
Well, we listen. So we listen to our members, and there's something I talk about a lot with my team. You said we did. So some of you might know, this week actually, we launched our Apple Watch integration, right? Which means for all of our devices with one tap, you can sync your Apple Watch with all of the metrics that we have. And that was something that our members asked for, right? And for us, it's all about that surprise and delight. So how are we listening to what our members are saying and how are we acting on them? Another one that we came up with was early in the pandemic, we saw that a lot of our members were getting together in these communities and they wanted to have those social networks on the platform. And so we created tags. Some of you might know, you might be using the tags, whether it's my Black Girl Magic tag or Peloton Moms, Peloton Working Moms, New Jersey Babes, whatever it is, right? You've got your tags and you've got your communities. And for us, it was listening to our members' behavior, using data, but also hearing their stories, listening to what they're saying, and being able to translate that into an experience that ultimately helps them in their journeys.
And I think with that, we have a video to play.
Dear stranger, you don't know me, and I don't know you. I don't know that you still dream of getting the band back together, or that your first love was cricket. I don't know that you fought for your country, that you're going to name your child Miracle, or that despite them calling you chicken legs, you made it all the way to the top. What I do know
Peloton, pick up your pace. Breathe.
is that in the 22nd minute,
Last set, come on.
when I have nothing left to give, and I doubt It's you who shows up for me.
Give me a little more.
It's you who keeps me going.
We're in this together, Peloton.
So, dear stranger.
How you feeling right now?
Really? We aren't strangers after all.
I love that. Beautiful. So that whole idea of coming together, so many brands evolved during, not even during the pandemic, the waves of it, the phases of it, the versions of it. That coming together, that being able to connect, how did you lean into that in your marketing and communications decisions?
So I think it all starts with what is your North Star, right? And what's your purpose? Why do you exist? And for us, it is about motivating the world to live better, right? Really helping people improve their lives. So when the pandemic first started, one of the things we did was just allow our app to be used for 90 days, right? I don't know how many of you remember what happened when all of us left work. I think I left half a Snickers bar on my desk, like I'm gonna come back and, be there. We all thought this was just gonna be, a 1 week, 2 week thing. And when we realized that this was something, our whole thing was people need to move. All of us, exercise, being able to meditate, taking care of our physical and mental health is so important and it was so critical. So making sure that there was accessibility to that was key, right? And so we started out with that. And then other things we started to do was really increase the variety of what we have. Mm-hmm. So it's not just cycling or running. We also have yoga, we have Pilates, we have boxing. And being able to really provide a more holistic experience, I think has been really key and important for our members. But the other thing that's so critical at Peloton is community. Because the fact is, nobody, all of us, we might be on our own journeys, but we're not alone. And making sure that we were doing things that allowed our members and helped to cultivate community. So in my team, we talk a lot about, we're not trying to fake it, right? We celebrate what's real, but we want to find what's real. And we want to kind of like pour gasoline on it. We want to cultivate it. We want to grow it. We want to make sure that we are showing up for our members in a way that is authentically them, that we're meeting them where they are, and that we're creating and facilitating the ability for them to continue to connect and deepen their relationships with each other. So that's kind of what we've been really focused on.
And I noticed that you are the keeper of the creative DNA, because you do allow your community to lead you, but the brand's personality is very evident no matter what, so I'm a huge fan of that. Congratulations on your ability to do that. You told me last week, I was mentioning to Dara how much I loved their most recent campaign with the letters to Peloton, because that was me. Like, I saw myself in that. And you told me a little bit about the campaign, but also just how proud you were of your team, because the way it came together. Tell us a little bit about that.
It was amazing because, Peloton's been in the news, right? We can just agree with that. And a lot of our members were taken to social media and starting to share their stories, starting to say, hey, a year ago I called, or like 3 years ago I said this thing was an overpriced coat rack. Now this thing has transformed my life. Like, for the first time in my life, I've actually been able to exercise consistently for 3 years. Or somebody took to Peloton, and I used to be that person. I hated Peloton people, and now I'm the queen of Peloton people. So our members take it to social and saying all these things and tagging me, tagging our founder, tagging other members of our team. And so, actually, these were some people on our brand team kind of came to me. They were like, we want to turn these things into an ad. And we don't want to do anything but just take exactly what they said. Because many of them, they actually had those initial statements they had made on social media, right? On Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. And then they had what they're saying today. And they were sending it to us. And they were like, we're just going to take those things, put it together, and that's the ad. And it was like really bold and really out there. And I remember talking to some of the folks on our leadership team, and they were like, that is really bold. You're going to just overpriced coat rack, huh? Not gonna edit it. Not gonna tidy that up. Not like an equipment I will love, but only use part of the time. You're just gonna go there. And I was like, no, we're gonna take the unvarnished truth of our members and we're gonna shine a light on it. And it was incredible. It actually, not only did it rally the community together, it inspired the brand, it inspired prospects, and it also was meaningful for the team. right? Because that's what we do. The reason all of us get up every day, the reason we come to work is because we are a mission-driven brand, right? We are so focused on how we're helping people lead healthier lives. It's so core to the company. Every time we have our engagement surveys, like the one thing that we are almost, it's not 100%, but it's close, is always around mission and purpose. Because that's kind of the thing that unites us. And so being able to kind of shine the light on that was really powerful.
Okay, so let's talk about variety. You have a variety of equipment now. You have a variety of classes and class types. Celebrity instructors, blessing or a curse?
Blessing all the way.
There are big personalities. Dara and I were talking about how now it's kind of like a getting to know you game. Who are your favorite instructors? And it's very insightful based on who you pick. Tell me a little bit about, as you look at marketing, communications, and membership, how you told me this is all, they are themselves, 100% themselves.
100%. I think authenticity is so key, right? It's so core. If you take a Cody Rigsby class, it is very different than a Matt Wilper's class. Can we all agree with that? If you know, you know, okay? If you don't, go Google it. But because we allow them to be themselves, we allow them to show up authentically as who they are. And I think that's part of what allows people to have a connection. Because I even know, when I'm low, I'm going to take a Cody Rigsby class because I will laugh and I will have a great time on the bike, right? And sometimes if I want to push myself, I might go to a different instructor. Maybe I might take a Robin class if I want to push myself and challenge myself. And I think creating the space and platform for our instructors to authentically show up as who they are is part of the magic of what happens on screen. Because I think if we were trying to box them or script them or tell them what to say, I honestly think the classes wouldn't be great because their full selves wouldn't be expressed. And so the members would not be able to form the deep connections that they have.
And if they were all the same, then your members would all
Exactly.
Inherently want the same thing.
And I think it's like different channels. On some days you want this, some days you want that, right? And you might have your go-to. But I think that, we have the variety of the instructors that we have, there's something for everyone, Like my husband and I, we have 2 bikes side by side and we like to ride together. And it's always like, what are we gonna ride? I always, he wants to do a little country ride. Okay, we'll do that together. And then he'll take my club bangers ride. And it's like Dara Tracita left, Dara Johnson just showed up. Kids out of the room, right? We're having a good time. And I think that there's a beauty in that. There's beauty in being able to express different and understand and experience different types of content.
So to do all of this, you have to understand the business.
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated by your career. You've been a marketer in every type of an organization, and I know you have a strong belief in being that business partner before you even begin the marketing journey. Talk a little bit about the places you've been and how you think it deepen that commitment. Because I know you said that you would suggest to everybody be that business person first and then lean into the marketing. How has your journey formed that for you?
Well, I think the creatives in the room can probably identify with this, right? I think there's certain aspects of the creative field that are very technical. And so people might not be like, oh, let me go and edit that movie for you. So I haven't done any editing before. But there's aspects of creative, of the creative process that people think they can do. Any of you had those things? Hey, let me give you a line for that script. I was just driving and I thought this line that I just came up with in 20 seconds is the line, even though maybe I code for a living, but I think I can do that. Whereas for marketers, a lot of marketers, we're not going and kind of trying to tell other people how to run or do aspects of their business. Something I learned early in my career is that it's really important to establish yourself as an expert in your field. It's really important to establish yourself as a business person first so that you can kind of create those boundaries where your team is able to do their craft, right? And actually have the space to be creative. Because I think, you want to be stubborn on vision and context, but you want to be flexible on the details. You want to give creative people space to thrive, right? If I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it, I might as well just do it myself, right? And so I think it's really important, as a leader and as a marketer, that I'm creating that space and creating that space for my team to be able to do the work. So I'll say throughout all the different places I've worked, I think one of the things that I've learned is that there's an art and a science, right, to marketing. And I've been really passionate about how those things come together. There's space for intuition. There's space for creativity. You have to do things you've never done before, right? I had never taken an ad out to say, here are negative things people say before, and then here's how they change their mind. But there's that intuition, there's that gut. And I think that there's space for that, but you can't say, oh, we're gonna put data to the side. You gotta bring those two things together. And I think that's where things like testing and experimenting can come to bear. So I think throughout my career, I've really been passionate about how we take the creative, artistic side, storytelling, right? The side of marketing that's intuition driven, and how we combine that with data. And I think that's where the power and the magic happens and the unlock happens for an organization and a brand.
Well, I also love the variety of companies you worked for. I think that sometimes we underplay how important it is to not, just stay in one swim lane. And I think you built different muscles along the way. So what about your team? You've been in this job since August of 2020? Yeah. And how much time have you gotten to spend with your team? How do you guys connect?
I love my team, okay? I'm sure everyone thinks they have the best team, but I absolutely love the Peloton team. My love for my team runs deep. And I try to, I spend time with my team every week for 15 minutes. It's called Stand Up. I get together with every single person in my organization. They come in, and it's usually virtual, but now we're in the office, so people are in the office as well. And we chat, we talk about all kinds of stuff. And it's kind of my way to update them on what's going on in the business, right? Things are moving so fast. And that kind of quick touch point, I think, has been very useful for folks in my team. And then, during times of change, like we're going through a period of change right now, I actually meet and sync with my core directs, our core leadership team, with a quick 15-minute sync every day. Because we're just in this season of change. We're not going to do it all the time. But I think one of the things that I found is you can't over-communicate when change is happening. When things are moving really quickly, the thing that happens a lot is there's actually breakdown in communication. And then people don't know what's happening. And then it can feel, when people aren't in the know and they don't have that knowledge, they feel like they lose a little bit of power, right? And so I think communication is how you bridge that gap. And so for me, one of the things that's really important as a leader is that I'm communicating, that I'm accessible, that I'm making sure I'm keeping those lines of communication open.
I had the privilege of sitting with some of our local team members this morning, and one of them asked, you're spending so much time with all of us. How do you have that time? How do you make that time? You've got a business that is on the move. You've got a lot to pay attention to. You clearly have proven you are speedy when it comes to capitalizing on situations or addressing them quickly. What you're talking about takes time. How do you figure that out? What are you balancing that with?
I'm very, very particular about how I spend my time. But I believe I'm a people-first leader, so I believe everything starts with people. And I think my number one thing is to serve my team and to create that space for them to thrive. So on my calendar, I have blocks for my team. Because if someone needs me, I want to be able to be there for them. Yeah. So I have blocked out time that I keep open so that I can be flexible and available to my team. So that's how I calendar it in. Because you're right, if I didn't calendar it in, it just wouldn't happen. I would be too busy. And so I have to intentionally set that time. The other thing too is, and I'm very real about it, but I think this idea of you can do it all, and you can't. Maybe you can, I don't know. Well, if you can, please let me know how you do it all. But, from my experience, you can't do it all at the same time, right? And so right now, I'm focusing on my business and all the work I have to do there. I've got my husband and I've got my kids, and I'm doing my volunteer work that I'm doing on my boards that I serve with. And what has gone a little bit, I'm not doing as much of the girl weekends, I've got that's gone right now. I look forward to when it'll come back. It'll come back. It will come back. Yeah. But right now, that's I'm not doing too much of that right now.
All right, I'm going to ask Dara one more question, and then I know you guys all have the ability to ask questions. So if you haven't queued them up yet, get your questions in, because we're going to start taking those in about 1 minute. You mentioned the fact that what's your one, I always get asked, what's my one thing that I will not give up personally? And this is honest to goodness. I see people that know me. It is my workout every morning. It is my Peloton
like a good
workout.
Peloton member. I like that. That's a good answer.
That's where I get my energy from. It's where I start my day. What's your non-negotiable? You will not give up what?
I will not give up those first few hours in the morning. Like, I am an early bird. I get up really early, and I try to create that time. I work out in that time. I pray in that time. I cuddle with my kids in that time, and I will not give that up, because that fills me up and lets me be able to go out in the day. You cannot give what you do not have, so I need to fill myself up, and then I can kind of pour into the rest of the day.
Are you on the Peloton before that?
I am on the Peloton
All right, just
early in the
checking.
morning. I am, absolutely.
Just checking. All right, we have a couple of good questions up here. Now, we can both see them, but you don't know which one I'm going to ask yet. Okay, so let's start, because measurement does matter, and you mentioned data earlier. How do you measure your success in creating a meaningful experience?
So I think, there's a couple of things that I look at. I think the first thing that I look at is love, right? How much do people love that experience? That seems super, simple, but you actually measure that. We measure our member love. We measure our brand love. We want to understand, do people actually enjoy this? Is this something that they're really passionate about? Or does this feel like something that is optional? We want our membership to be essential. And so that's something that we measure. And I think that, for us, you're looking at different metrics, right? Not just the NPS, but like actual, love data, right? You're doing surveys, you're conducting research, you're looking also at just the data, you're using data science to understand what people are liking, which classes they're liking, how they're rating those classes. But that stuff is so key, and we have to obsess about it.
Yeah.
Because when we obsess about it, that's the only way you maintain it. If you take your eye off it, when you take your eye off experience, it's going well right now, so I don't think it immediately starts to depreciate. It's something that you have to intentionally focus on and continue to improve every day.
I could talk to you about that forever, because that data at people's fingertips is essential. And I could imagine in your brand, it's not like something you could look at annually or quarterly. You got to be looking at it all the time. Okay. Let's see. What's a rule you're glad you broke in order to get an idea into market? So we heard you say you did something that people were like, you're doing that, but did you ever have to straight up break a rule?
Yeah, I just was like, hey, we're doing this, and we're doing it, and I signed off on it.
Are you a permission, or what's that saying, permission or?
Ask forgiveness,
yeah,
and
forgiveness.
you just put it out. I mean, the whole campaign was done in like less than a week. Like, if we had to go through the formal process, there's no way we could have done that. Another rule that I was glad I broke was like when I decided to do the clap back to the Sex and the City situation.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I'm doing this. I did it, I called my CEO, hey, we're doing this, I'm going. And he was like, all right,
Good
go.
for
And we went, and I'm so glad we did that, because I think it's important. We are a company that's about improving people's lives, and we can't, we wanted to make sure, how things can get in social media, where all of a sudden we started to see medical misinformation. People say, cardio isn't good. No, cardio is good for you. Exercise is good for you. It's a critical part of leading a happier, healthier life. And so we were glad we did that. And speed is important. If we hadn't done it when we did it, well, we definitely wouldn't have been able to do it after that, right? You don't need to go into why. But I'm glad I'm glad we broke that rule. I'm glad we pushed through. I'm glad we came out, when we did.
I love what you said earlier, because obviously you've got your own brand love. You're protective of that brand you're entrusted with, but you were also more mad, it sounded like, at the medical misinformation that was going on too. You're like, you're taking...
Because it's for the industry. This wasn't about Peloton. This is about, hey, exercise is good for you. Let's not allow anybody to say that exercise is not good for you. Let's just address that issue. And that was what I was most concerned about, right? Because I think those things are, you know how it goes. You got to protect things that are facts.
Now, what about the discovery process? And I love to understand we were talking backstage a little bit about, what you get access to. And again, for the creatives in the room, like, you have to really know where are things coming from in order to do well by them when it comes to marketing and creative and other things. So the discovery process, the innovation process, the product development process, how do you work with your peers and teammates to see what's coming and know how that's going to add to the experience you want to promise your members?
So I actually think it's kind of, it's sort of, there's three distinct phases of it that are kind of connected. And I think one is about mining information, right? Where you are mining, it starts with insights. You're going to figure out, what does your consumer want? You're looking at the data, you're going in there, you're digging in, you're asking them, you're listening to what they're telling you, and you're pulling out information. I think the other side is about just dreaming and imagining, right? What could be possible? Because sometimes, if you ask people what they wanted, that quote where if you ask people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse, not a car. So you got to kind of reimagine and think. So you have to start with zero sheet of paper, and there's no boundaries, blue sky, what's possible. And then I think the third distinct part of that discovery process is where you make a hypothesis, you try it, and then it's not quite going how you thought. You don't just say, okay, no. You dig in to find out why. Because many times that can unlock something for you. And many times it's actually the thing that I thought wasn't important. Yeah. Guess what? That turned out to be really important. And the thing we all thought, ooh, this is going to be a big deal. Like, nobody cared. Yeah. Really, nobody cared. Like, actually, nobody cared. So I think it's really important to have those three things where you're mining information, you're creating, wide space, big idea thinking without boundaries, without borders, and then, you're digging in to figure out why.
And how much control do you have? You were talking about change, and change is just insanely fast right now. And what you were dealing with as a business a year ago is very different than today. You were telling me about the trial period. Like, how much autonomy or control do you have over being able to say, we have to make this financial change, this product change, this accessibility change in order to be where our members and our future members need us to be right now, like extending the trial period?
There's something our new CEO says. He actually articulates this really well. He says intuition drives testing, data drives decision making, and I love it. Because I've always kind of thought about intuition and data, but I never, when he said that, I was like, I like that. I'm going to keep using that line. That's a great line. And I think for us, that's exactly how it goes, right? We have intuition about things. We can run different tests. But before we start scaling things, we need to make sure that we really understand what works and what doesn't work. So I think we can go very quickly, right, to launch something, try something. I think you actually have to go fast, right? If you're going to go fast, try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, you can iterate. But before you start to scale it, I think that's where you need to make sure you understand what success looks like so that you can scale the experience in a way that makes sense, not just from the user experience, in one instance, but it's something that can be sustainable.
And say that for me one more time. Intuition drives testing, data drives decision making.
Exactly.
I love it. That's a good one. All right, good. I hope everybody's got that. Yeah, right? All right, good. Thank you.
It's a Barry McCarthyism, as I say that.
Any last thoughts for all of us? You are amazing and so much fun to watch. And I have so many people who are jealous of me because I'm here with you today. You've just been I
really want to meet those people.
Well, I already told her one is my sister who's giving me questions behind the scenes to ask. But thank you so much for spending time with us today. And I love the brave decisions that you're making. And you're like, hell no, I'm doing it.
Thank you so much. One thing I want to leave you all with, I want you to take a blank sheet of paper after this meeting or whatever and think about an idea that you think is crazy and take it back wherever you work. Just do that for me, will you? All right.
I love it. Thank you.